Pardon me while I have a strange interlude.
There is nothing else. Life is an obscure hobo bumming a ride on the omnibus of art.
Along the misty corridors of time, and in those corridors I see figures, strange figures.
Welcome back, my friends, to the AP Strange Show. I am your host, AP Strange, and this is my show. And tonight's show is brought to you by Joker's Wild Tech Products. You open a box of Joker's Wild, and you're really not sure what's going to be in there, but it's bound to not be compatible with another thing that you own. So enjoy the frustration of Joker's Wild Tech Products. And sign up today for their subscription. So tonight on the show, I'm really excited about this one. This is a lot of fun for me, and very gratifying that this guest has agreed to come on, because people who know me might remember me posting a whole lot of what I call messages from the cosmos, which is playing cards I found out in the wild. And if not for that, I just have a general obsession with playing cards. And my guest tonight, his book, A Deck of Spells, Hoodoo, Playing Card Magic, and Rootwork and Conjure, has never been far from my reach. As a result, it's always kind of either on the shelf right where I can see it, or kind of on the side table next to my couch, so that it's always there when I come home. I've been a big fan for quite a while. Professor Charles Porterfield is an Old Testament, old school reader, and a root worker, and a proud member of the Missionary Independent Spiritual Church. He's an author of several books, and very recently did a presentation in Salem, Massachusetts, and I was kicking myself because I saw when it was, and I could have totally gone if it had been a little bit later or on a different day. And then I was like, wait, I have a podcast. I can just ask him to come on. So, and I'm very glad that he did. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Professor.
Thank you so much for having me. I will say something real quick. I'm no longer associated with Missionary Independent Spiritual Church. That must be a very old bio, but all the rest is true. And
okay.
Thank you for having me here. And how do I refer to you, Mr. Strange? Doctor Strange?
Well, I do. Yeah, I do have a doctorate in kook sciences, so that might work. But
well, there
I don't want to
you
get
go.
sued. I don't want to get sued by Disney either. So there's.
Oh, that's right. I guess they do own that now. So yeah.
Maybe Professor Doctor Strange.
Professor Doctor Strange. Yes, there you go.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, because, like I said, I've been a fan, and your presentation in Salem sounded fascinating, because you were talking about the sporting life.
Yes, sir.
It was it 30 years in the sporting life? Was that
yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, for my listeners, can you give a little description of what the sporting life is?
Absolutely. So let us go back to the Victorian era quickly. So in the Victorian era, we started to have the rise of industrialization, and people from the hinterlands, the more rural areas, wanted to improve their lives. And so they moved into the cities to be able to have jobs primarily that were being created by industrialization. And although it was intensely grimy and gritty and poverty ridden, and none of us would want to live in it, it was actually better than the situations that they had been living in the rural settings. And this, of course, led to a proliferation of numerous people being in the city, not only from outer areas of the country, England, the UK, but also immigrants, etc., as the workforce grew. And the peerage, those who thought they were better than everyone else, started to identify this as a problem. They started to say, well, there's a lot of gambling and a lot of this and a lot of that. And they started to talk about a rectifying set of programs. How do we fix this? And what they believed would fix it was the quote outdoors life. That young men really need to go outdoors, and they need to pitch tents and build fires and have sit-arounds and sing-alongs and so delightful little misadventures of buggery in the middle of the night. And that's good for the lads. And the outdoor life led to the creation of a secondary term, the sporting life. That's what they were against, the sporting life. And they said, well, basically, this is what happens. You get a bunch of people together, you get a bunch of guys together, and they're going to start to gamble. All right. And if they're gambling, then they're going to start to drink. And they're going to gamble on anything: cards, dice, prize fights that just suddenly happen in the pub, which actually was a thing, sudden pop-up, like we think of pop-up businesses now, pop-up prize fights, horse racing, the whole 9 yards. And at these events, they're going to drink. And drinking and gambling together, gambling plus drinking, of course, means prostitution. I'm not sure how they arrived at that math, but that was their little calculus on that. And so they said, oh, that creates prostitution. So now we've got gambling, we've got drinking, and we've got prostitution, and these are going to destroy civilization. And of course, the eternal cry of the oppressor, won't someone think of the children?
Yeah.
So interestingly, the outdoor life actually led to the formation of the Boy Scouts. A lot of people think of the Boy Scouts as an exclusively American event, and no, it actually started over there. So this idea of the sporting life first was centered around that. Then what they kind of expanded it. They said, well, they're also going to kind of rowdy halls and singing bawdy songs. So the theater was added in. So now actors and actresses, because after all, aren't actresses basically just prostitutes when you really think about it? And it didn't stop there. So actors, actresses, people who drink, people who gamble, people who engage in sex work, people who have that as a part of the business they promote. So in other words, if you owned a drinking establishment, if you owned a club, if you owned a gambling hall, authors, poets, everyone in the LGBTQIA, etc., etc. All of those people on the other side of the street started to be described as being in the sporting life. Normally, when I talk about this, there's normally a number of magicians and sorcerers sitting in the audience listening, and I see some slightly smug looks on their faces about, well, at least, I'm not involved in that sort of. And I go, no, you too. Because
Right.
Card readers, diviners, magicians, sorcerers, cunning men, cunning women, the list goes on. They're all in the sporting life. So what it quickly becomes is a catch-all umbrella phrase to be used. It's not very popular anymore, to be used for anyone, quote, on the other side of the street. Now, why are they on the other side of the street? Because, well, we've put them there. We've kept them on the other side of the street, the other side of the river, the other side of the railroad tracks. What's interesting about this is that this segregation goes back into ancient times, and we have leftovers of it in our language. So in Rome, on the left-hand side, if you're looking at the river as it runs through Rome, on the left-hand side is where all these people live. And on the right-hand side of the river, that's where we have the palaces and the law courts and the upper class and the wealthy merchants. And so we start describing those people by that direction. They live over there. They live on the left-hand side. They are they are sinister.
Right.
They are sinister, because that's all that means is left hand, whereas dexter is right hand. This happens in France, in Paris, on the Seine. On the left-hand side, again, we have all those people. On the right-hand side, we have, again, our courts, our nobles, our upper businessmen, etc. And so we say, if you act like you're from over there, oh, how common you are that you act like you're gauche, which is simply left. So this continues until basically the Victorians say, oh, enough of these, hand directions. Let's just have a big term. Interestingly enough, in my lifetime, we have started to reclaim some of that. So phrases you have heard of, in the life.
Yeah.
It would be an example of that. Well, what is the life? Well, it might be any number of different lives. But it's always, again, about that, what in the old days we would call the sporting life. So there's a way too long answer to a pretty succinct question.
It's a good answer though, and I mean there's some hypocrisy involved there as well, because I mean, of course the upper class liked their gambling as well, and they could drink like anybody else.
That's the problem. The main problem with an idea of the sporting life is, let's face it, all of those people are pretty fucking cool. Okay. I mean, they're having fun. They're dancing. They're making new music, because musicians are in the sporting life. Dancers are in the sporting life. All the arts are in the sporting life. So they're over here being cool. They're over here with style, with fashion. They're, in fact, the innovators of fashion, the innovators of a new look. So what happens is, people from the right side of the tracks want to go over there and experience that. And that's normally a younger generation. And so again, here comes the cry of, won't someone think of the children? Except the concept of that is very different than it is today. So, we have people writing long letters about, my young son, young Jeremy Smythe Jr., he's only 21 years old, and he recently has become involved with the works of Jean Genet. And I am dead worried that he's going to up and want to have anal sex with other men. We have to do something about this Genet character. So, I mean, that's just the way it always is. It's those people are cool. In America, the primary place we see that, we think, oh, it's going to be about drugs. It's going to be about art. It's going to be about literature. It's dancing. It's dancing. And who's allowed to dance with whom? And this is an issue that went on into the early part of my life, and then got knocked down, which is non-segregated dancing. White and black kids dancing together to really cool music. And that's going to lead to miscegenation. That's going to lead to a race of mongrel mud people. Like, they're way caught up about this. So the Klan is actually coming in and breaking up dances. All right.
Yeah.
So you're right. There is a hypocrisy here. And it is the hypocrisy more than it is the hypocrisy of, we're still going to want to have a taste. It is the hypocrisy that there are certain people who are just better than other people. And we're going to segregate those people, whether we're segregating them economically, or segregating them racially, or however, or segregating them religiously. We're going to put them over there. Then we're going to go and taste the wares. And what's strange is that you can cross over. If you're an author or a playwright or a musician, and you write the kind of thing that we like, that supports us, that supports our structures, that quite frankly is not very good art, then we'll let you in the club. Except we're always ready to throw you back to the dogs. So this idea of the sporting life is, I would have to say almost everyone I know in my life is to some extent in the sporting life nowadays. We don't think of it that way anymore. Obviously, we've won a lot of victories, but there's still a shitload of oppression going on. And so part of this is to kind of get this idea out of our head about, oh, well, those people. Oh, well, that they're like, oh, well, and again, I'm not talking about ardent criminals, but what I am often talking about is the difference between illegality and criminality. And they are very different. We have a very popular saying nowadays. You see it all the time on social media. They say, no human is illegal. And I'm like, can we stop saying that? That's blue skies and bullshit. Can we stop saying that? Can we say instead, no human being should be illegal? Because I got news for everybody. There's a whole lot of people that have done jack shit and are illegal. They're illegal because of the color of their skin, that they want to speak their cradle tongue because they're LGBTQ. I mean, there are a lot of people that are because of who they want to love. They're not engaging in crime. It is that they have been made illegal. And that constantly shifts. It sways back and forth. And so you can never say, oh, well, we've won this, so it'll never go. Like, I got news for everybody. If you're listening to this show, get ready. They're gonna do something about Oglefeld. Okay.
Yeah.
Just doubt it
Yep.
for a
I mean,
goddamn minute.
For my coming of age, I feel like when I was younger, people had kind of assumed, and I would actually hear this, that we live like in a post racial society, and like we've won all these liberties, and then you see like gay marriage being ratified and legalized, and marijuana legalized even, and it's just like no, none of these things are solved. The
Right.
pendulum does swing both ways, and you have to be ever vigilant. And I mean, like, look what happened to Roe versus Wade, is
Oh,
because
exactly.
they
Look,
never codified it.
Roe was passed and overturned in my lifetime.
Yeah,
Okay. Just in my, like, this is not old news here. Okay. I'm not
right.
100 years old. I'm still a spry fellow, but this happened right there. And here's the thing. Whenever you live in a bad situation, wherever you live where oppression, totalitarianism, the force of the state is rising, there's always some Weisenheimer telling you that you're being hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
They're not gonna get rid of Roe. Roe has established the law. Yeah, well, look what the fuck happened there, friend. Okay.
Yeah,
And maybe if more of us had been hysterical, maybe that wouldn't have, happened quite as easily. I'm not saying it
right.
wouldn't have happened, but maybe it would have been a little bigger fight. And now it's
Yeah,
gone. Okay.
right.
Because inherently, and let us for a moment discuss witchcraft,
Mm-hmm.
inherently, women are seen as being in the sporting life unless they are very dutiful, very obedient, very quiet, very repressed
Mm-hmm.
individuals. Any woman who's out living her own life, living her best life, getting an education, trying to do what she wants to do, having sexual liberation, having ownership of her own body, not going from her father's house to her husband's house, daring to not love men, all right,
Mm-hmm.
is over here as well. And so this is a big group, you know?
Yeah.
We
It's
ragged
about half
band
the
of
people.
brothers and sisters. It's
Yeah.
about how, yeah, it's more than. What I used to do in classes when I would talk about the sporting life is I would say, I'm going to list everyone that could possibly be in the sporting life. When I finish the list, raise your hand if you are in any of those groups. That way you don't have to out yourself, right? Because, it was a different time. And I would get to the end of the list, and pretty much the entire room would raise their hands. But there was always one or two persons who wouldn't. And I would go, okay, so now you see that outside of the two liars in the room, you're all in the sporting life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it could be broadly also just called the underdogs in a lot of different situations.
Well, it is
And
interestingly called the underworld.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, or the underground.
The underground, the underworld,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
demi-monde. Everybody take
yeah,
a drink. The demi-monde, yeah, which is the half world, right? And this
yeah.
is the world of all of those people, and all of us are trying to struggle to be in the light and to have our rights. Except there are far too many people that believe in inalienable rights.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that a problem? Well, the problem with that is let's get our own political system for just one moment, because it's not exclusive to America. I don't wish it was, but boy, at least it'd be a halfway better world if it was just one place. Uh, if a president can come in, a sitting president can come in and do things to take away your rights, and then a new president can come in and fix that, and we can ping pong back and forth doing that for generations. Your rights are not inalienable. Your rights are completely alienable. Your rights are completely up for fucking grabs.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means that the process of politics is not a process of what it should be, which is, well, who's going to be best for infrastructure, taxation, how we rule ourselves, but is a constant, oh God, exhausting fight to survive.
Yeah.
And that's why we must avoid things like political disenchantment and nihilism, and oh, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, my point is this: if votes don't matter, why do they do their best to deny you the vote? If that doesn't
Yeah.
matter, then they wouldn't care. They'd just go, sure, vote all you want. I don't give a shit.
Right.
We're gonna do whatever we want.
Why all the redistricting and all the dirty tricks and all that? Yeah,
Redlining, gerrymandering. Obviously, it must matter some, you know.
yeah,
Does
yeah.
that mean that's the solution? We can just vote ourselves into paradise? No. God, no.
Mhm.
You know,
Well,
there's a struggle.
yeah. I mean,
And
I've made the
magic
argument.
plays a part of that.
Yeah, I've made the argument that the inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are an ideal that is worthy of shooting for, and that should
Yes.
be it, like on a grand scale, it's true, but the systems in place aren't recognizing it as such because clearly it's up for debate at any given time.
Well, it's
So,
also because too many
yeah,
people think of it like a pie, right? If you have more rights, then I'll have less rights.
right,
And that's not this is not a, this is not a scarcity model here, boys and
yeah,
girls. The other fact of the matter is there are just a lot of nasty, ignorant, mean-spirited sons of bitches who don't want you to have your rights, who don't want you to have freedom, who don't want you to have joy. And what's interesting is that the attack on joy is the primary methodology. Don't ever
well, it's
lower your guard.
terrorism.
Yeah, don't
Yeah,
ever lower your guard. Don't ever enjoy yourself. Don't ever calm down. Don't ever, keep looking over your shoulder. And a lot of it is a lie. We are the
mhm.
majority. I remember Jerry Falwell and his moral majority. Let me tell you something. They were not a moral majority. They were a very loud minority.
Yeah,
But see, they
yeah,
could convince people, oh, we're the majority. Watch out. And it's like,
hmm
I guess you could start that with anything, but that's the reason we see things even in this day being broadcast out of press conferences at the still so-called White House oh, it was a mandate. No, it wasn't. Simple math tells you it wasn't a mandate. And we're not talking about, oh, you need to be a statistician or you need to understand, very 2 plus 2 math shows you it's not a mandate. So why do they keep saying it? To disempower you. So you go, I'm alone. I'm by
yeah,
myself. It's just me. It's me
yeah.
and
They
my
want you to give
friends.
up. They want
Yeah,
you
they
to
want
feel
you to give up.
hopeless.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because once you feel utterly hopeless, they win. That's the real victory. Yeah.
Yes. And
uh,
and and the best magic addresses this. All
yeah.
right. I
It becomes
mean,
necessary, I think,
it
right?
exactly. It's another tool in the toolbox, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the reason that magicians and card readers and all those people are in the sporting life because you're not playing by the rules, are you? No,
Right.
I mean, you're certainly daring to try to change quote unquote reality. So, ooh, that sounds pretty irreligious and
hmm
heretical. And I just don't like it. You know, at the end of the day, that's all this is. I don't like that. I don't
Yeah.
like that. And I'm going to do something about it. And I'm going to, and the customer is always right. Meh, meh, meh. It's just a fucking bunch of Karens with systemic power.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I believe so. But I mean, being in that demi-monde area is kind of like a liminal existence that's always subject to dangers and fraught with dangers and all of that.
Absolutely.
So, um,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I think I saw that you had posted recently. It was like a spell for helping trans people travel.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I thought that was really interesting and pretty cool. um,
We have to meet the needs, you know?
yeah, yeah,
Um, of course, right about now, everyone who's tuned in is saying, hey, great show, but I went to a liberal arts college. I know this already.
right.
You two old farts aren't informing me. I was out on the street yesterday. I know what's going on. And it's like, yeah, you do. Absolutely.
Yeah,
But what are we going to do about it? You know?
right.
And the place it starts is at home, right? You've got to have your own protection, your own safety, your own joy. Hopefully, we still live in quote late stage capitalism. Boy, is it getting late,
hmm
getting real dark out there. Uh, but so you also have to protect your money. You have to
Yeah,
have some money. These are all the tools by which they seek to oppress people. The beauty of a practice like hoodoo is that it was birthed out of oppression. I
yeah,
mean, literally, it was created in the midst of chattel slavery, out
yeah,
of a number of different powerful and potent traditional components. So it can address some of that.
yeah. And I mean, it seems to me to be more or less an American tradition, right? It's just
Yeah,
entirely, would
absolutely.
you say
Absolutely.
entirely? It's kind of that old melting pot idea, but less problematic, I guess.
So it's interesting that you would say that. Thank you for saying that, because that's something I have often brought up. What I have said is that hoodoo is the realization of the promise of the American melting pot, and that the
Yeah,
American melting pot is not a melting pot, it's actually a tossed salad. And so if
yeah,
we don't like cucumbers, we can segregate red line and fuck over cucumbers. If we don't like tomatoes, we can force tomatoes to live in certain neighborhoods. We can deny them jobs. But hoodoo is proof of a melting pot attitude. I
yeah,
often liken hoodoo to gumbo. Because when we look at gumbo, okay, the rice and the okra in gumbo both come from Africa, as opposed to the Asiatic rice. This is African rice. So you cannot have gumbo without rice and okra, except gumbo filet. And if you know anything about gumbo, you know you must have gumbo filet is ground sassafras leaves,
hmm,
dried and ground sassafras. That comes from first tribes. That comes from Native Americans. Except every grandma in Louisiana will tell you that if you don't make that roux right to begin with, that's going to be shitty gumbo. And that is wine and flour and lard or butter. And that is French cooking.
yeah,
Except gumbo is its own thing. Gumbo is
yeah,
not exclusively African, exclusively French, exclusively Native American. Those influences are actually there. There is an African dish that is very much like gumbo. It is its ancestor, but it's not the gumbo we eat. It is
hmm,
American, and hoodoo is one of the few truly American things. Hoodoo, Southern conjure, comic books, jazz, chop suey. These are
yeah.
American things. You
And
know,
the Joker, the playing card deck.
the Joker in the playing card deck, the rounded corners on playing cards,
Yeah,
the printed backs where we have designs on the backs of cards,
yeah,
all the indices. All of these are American advents.
yeah, yeah. So how was it that you came to Rootwork and Conjure yourself?
So I was raised around it. A lot of people who say that then tell some fabulous myth story about how, when they were 8 years old, they were taught root work. That's not my story. What I was taught when I was a child were things that were appropriate to children. So a lot of that is about social convention, about behavior, about protection, simple protections, things, how to make a charm to keep bullies from bullying you at school.
Hmm.
The way this happened was I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandparents had a rather unique relationship in that they would both come up with ideas. They would vaguely talk about them to each other, and then they would go off and make separate choices about that. There was never any hassle in the house about that at all. And they decided that at a certain age, I needed, quote, some churching up. So they both decided, all right, Charlie's going to go to church. And my grandmother decided that I would go to the white hard shell. I don't think it had quite become what we now call evangelical. Uh, but Holy Fire, Baptist church in town. My grandfather decided that I would go to church with one of his business partners, Mr. Rufus King, and that I would go to Black Pentecostal church. You can tell that these two trains had a cornfield meet. And so
Yeah,
then, being the esteemed, wise, very mature adults that they were, they left that choice up to an 8-year-old. And so I said, okay, well, I went a couple of times to the White Baptist Church, and there was a picture of Jesus on the wall. He looked an awful lot like Ted Nugent back in the day, and there was a lot of talk about fire and brimstone, and pick up your cross and follow me, and suffering, and I shall separate son from father, and daughter-in-law from mother-in-law, and I come bearing a sword, and hellfire, hellfire, hellfire. And then I would go to Black Pentecostal Church, and there was a picture of Jesus, and he looked a lot like Richard Roundtree, circa 1970, whatever. And there was a lot of singing, and there was a lot of suffer the little children to come unto me, and all God's children need shoes, and the least of you shall be redeemed, and let us raise our voices in joy, and the promise of a better world. And I said, I'm going to stick with the Pentecostal church.
Yeah.
And so, because of that, on Sundays, I would go to church with Mr. King. And then afterwards, he and I would go fishing or have lunch at his house or tool around all day or, work in his garden. And he had some knowledge of hoodoo. He was not a hoodoo, but he had knowledge of hoodoo, and he passed some of that on to me. So my first exposure was on the ground.
Yeah.
And then that stayed with me. And like a lot of people, I made the mistake of thinking that there was something better because it's from someplace else. And so there's just a plethora of people who would rather do Etruscan druidry or whatever the hell the Llewellyn flavor of the month is, rather than do stuff that their grandmothers did, or their great
Yeah.
grandfather, or their grandfather, or the people from where they're from did, because it's exotic and it's exciting and has different things. And I was a fool, and I went through that little circle, and eventually I just said, "Screw this! I'm going home." And I began to study again as an adult. And I was very lucky and blessed to be able to study at the feet of elders, some of whom are still living, many of whom are departed. And the big turnaround was after I actually opened my professional practice. I was contacted by the granddaughter of a conjure man who had a stroke thrown on him because of work. And he was looking for someone to help him. And he said to his granddaughter, as best he could, because he had difficulty communicating, he said, find me a conjurer, find me a hoodoo. And she said, Grandpa, there aren't any anymore. And he said, they'll be on the computer. And so she went out onto the World Wide Web, and she found workers, and she would sit next to his bed, and she would read off their information, and he would go, no, I don't know what that is. I haven't even heard of a chakra. I don't know what that is. And eventually she found my page and read what I had written. And he's like, oh, him. He uses the old words. He talks the way we talk. Him. So they contacted me. I took him as a client. I immediately started making up rattlesnake grease for him and sending it off and telling his granddaughter how to apply the rattlesnake grease and what to do with it. And slowly the stroke came off. And about the time he could walk with just a single cane, and he could communicate again, although it was slow. He would talk like this. Uh, he said, well, I have some other work I'd like you to do, but I live on a fixed income, so I'll get back to you. And I said, there's no need. I'll be happy to do the work for you. He said, no, I don't take charity. And I said, it won't be charity. I'll work for you and you teach me. And he said, why the hell do you need to be taught? You're already out here. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm still young and I don't know everything, and you're my elder. And I was lucky enough for him to become my elder. And his name was Charles Hanson. He lived in Vidalia, Georgia, where the onions come from. And he taught me so much. I mean, I'm in eternal debt to that man. And so that's kind of my story. And now I've just been doing it for decades, and messing around and doing my best. So that's kind of my story.
Yeah, I mean that's a wonderful backstory. I mean, it's that's it seems like he would have been a really wonderful teacher. Did you have to move to Georgia, or were you?
No, we talked a lot on the phone. We met eventually, but yeah, he was a really good man, and like a lot of hoodoos, he had another profession. He had originally been a car mechanic, and that man could fix a car by looking at it. And he was retired, and outside of his granddaughter, he didn't have any other kin left. His wife was gone. His other children were gone. And he just became one of my best friends, and like I say, my elder, and I'm proud to be one of his kids.
Yeah.
And now I have legacy students that I try to pass on to them as he passed on to me. But he was a rabble rouser, I mean, here's the thing: everybody thinks this is going to be like Hogwarts or something. I don't know what they think, but it's not like that. I mean, if you meet a real worker and they're willing to even talk to you, you're blessed. And then they might literally be saying to you, come over here and pick weeds. You know what I'm saying? Or, help do something, before they'll ever talk to you about the work. Like, this isn't like a sorceress university or something. You have to integrate yourself. You have to be concerned. You have to show who you are. And it is one of the issues that often comes up is people say, well, what can white people do hoodoo? And it's a pretty poignant question. And first of all, I know what I look like. I've got a goddamn mirror. My daddy was so white, if you turned off the lights, he would have glowed.
Right.
But my mother is a woman of color. And so I remember getting in a fight when I was 8 years old because someone called her a mulatto, and I knew that was not a nice thing to call my mother. And then I tried to fight a grown man, and that was stopped very quickly by my grandfather. But do you have to have that? And people have a lot of very charged opinions. Here's my charged opinion. If you are here to study hoodoo and conjure for power, all you want is the fancy pajamas. All you want is the spells. All you want is the connection. That's all the hell you care about. Get the fuck out and stay the fuck away from me and stay the fuck away from mine. There are a lot of people who profess a great deal of concern and interest about Black ancestors. And my attitude is that's all well and good, but you should be concerned about Black descendants. You should be concerned and involved with what's happening to Black people right the fuck now. You should call that shit out. If you are in a position where you have white privilege, you should subvert the shit out of that. You should be constantly in white people's fucking faces about racism, about anti-Blackness, about systemic oppression. You should be absolutely motivated towards the liberation of people. And if you're not, then please stay the fuck away from hoodoo. There's a whole catalog of things for you. Go do that. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're all going to rip off hoodoo anyway, because white people, oh my God, the favorite white sport in the world is stealing shit from Black people. Fashion, music, dance, magic, religion, you name it. So you can still get your little taste, but maybe don't go around calling yourself a hoodoo or a conjure if you're not on the ground with the people. I have said many a time, you cannot be a quote folk magician if you're not amongst the folk. And this is a little too academic for some people. Like, let's get out here and get your hands dirty. You're supposed to be a conjurer. You're supposed to be a hoodoo. If you don't understand what's going on, how the hell can you help? Well, there's good money in it. Man, you can make more money as a butcher. What are you talking about? Come on.
Well, I hear you. I mean, it does kind of seem, forgive my laughing. I mean, I'm just catching the Frank Zappa reference.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad you did. Yeah.
I'm a big Zappa fan. So, who you driving with that cosmic debris? But,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it does seem, and I've always felt this way with my own magical thinking, which can be taken any way listener wishes, is that it's a service that you're doing. It's a calling that you should be doing it for the benefit of all, or at least the ones you can help,
Yes. But that benefit should start again in the home. Like I'm sorry, we have enough goddamn wounded healers. Thank you very much. Okay.
Yeah.
We are to the brim with wounded healers. Can we please have some healed healers? Can we please have some magicians and sorcerers who are not unstable, out of their minds, trying to start cults, haven't dealt with their own trauma? Start with yourselves, right? That's not selfish. That's self-full, right? How can I help you with job work, to have employment, or to save money, or to be able to start to create the very kernel of generational wealth, or to get a home, or anything, if I don't have two pennies to rub together, if I don't know any of those skills, if I have a bunch of poverty trauma myself, then we're all just scrambling. The same goes with love. The same goes with physical health. The same goes with fighting oppressors. If you don't know what it's like, then how the hell can you help it at all? And let me tell you, this issue about white people in hoodoo, there's some sudden wake up calls. I have seen white people come into hoodoo and get out so fast it made my head spin because they got a taste. They suddenly realized, oh shit, these people will come after me, and they bailed, and I'm happy they bailed. Bye, bitch, go. You're of no use to any of us. You know, why don't you go check out the local Ku Klux Klan meeting? I'm sure they'd love to have you. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, you've got to be down here in it, and that doesn't change that you're fucking white. Remember that. There are going to be people, as Muhammad Ali said, how can I tell the difference between two rattlesnakes? You tell me that rattlesnake doesn't bite, that rattlesnake does bite. If your little fifis are so sensitive that you can't live with the fact that there are going to be some black people that want nothing the fuck to do with you for some pretty goddamn good reasons that really don't have anything to do with you, but welcome to how the world works, again, don't get involved. Okay. And don't
Yeah.
come in and play white knight. For God's sakes, you're not the savior. This is not the big story about, oh, the white person came. That smacks of Moonlight and Magnolias, man. Oh,
Yeah.
we treated them so well. Fuck no, we did not, you know? But you
Right.
have to have some skin in the game to some
Mhm.
extent, you know? That being said, we do have to acknowledge that not all skin folk are kinfolk. You know, I mean, look, you
Mm.
know, we got black people right now in ICE. Okay,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
like you know, there are people of any number of different racial and ethnic backgrounds who will sell everybody the fuck out if they think they can get a goddamn place at the table. It never works out. You can never assimilate enough,
Yeah.
but good luck with it. You know?
I mean, it'll work out as long as it's useful to the
Yeah,
powers that be. Yeah.
exactly.
It's a short term ride.
It is a
Uh,
very short ride.
yeah. Um, but it does seem like authenticity is more important than anything else. Like if you're trying to portray something that you aren't, I mean, to use another Frank Zappa phrase, you are what you is, and you gotta be that, right? So
Yeah. Well, I mean, how can you be in two places at once if you're not anywhere at all? I mean, it just I do not understand people who have an attitude about magic and spirituality that is separate from everything else. I consider myself more akin to a plumber or an electrician or a lawyer than I do to a priest or
mhm.
you know somebody in a you know mercury smoke filled tower someplace. I mean, we need to have authenticity. We need to be right on the ground. Maybe you don't in yours. Maybe you know that whatever you're doing does require you to be alone, you know, in a garret someplace with a silver sword and you know the dust of jewels and things. And more power to you, but it doesn't do me any good, and it doesn't do the average person out in the street any good. And that's what I'm focused on. I'm focused on community. I'm focused on building. I'm focused on strength. What I tell people all the time is my emphasis in my work and in my practice is to promote strength. If I wanted to promote weakness, I would be a pusher or a pimp and I'd make a hell of a lot more money.
Yeah, well, I could certainly see that. Um, but I mean, there are services that you do offer, and that I was looking at on your site. And one that caught my eye was the lanterns.
Yeah,
Um,
conjure lamps. Yeah.
yeah, so this is something I don't know very much about, so I was a little bit curious about it. How what's the process with a conjure lamp? Because it seems like you can kind of work with them for a variety of uses for customers or clients.
So first of all, technically, if we you know want to get all technical here, uh, uh, a conjure lamp would be quote a container spell. All
Okay.
right. But the way I liken it, and I've talked about this before, is imagine if a mojo bag and a candle spell had a kid. All
Okay.
right. That's going to be a conjure lamp. A conjure lamp is a lamp that in the font, to use a very proper term, the font of the lamp, we have materia magica. We have dried botanical. substances. We might have minerals. We might have man-made objects. We might have zoological. And those are conjured. Those are, here's what I want you to do. Here's how you're going to do the same process we would have with a mojo bag.
Mm-hmm.
Then we fill it with oil and we light it. That wick may also be conjured as well. It might be written on, etc. And then we light that lamp to produce that effect. So let's say we have a protection lamp, for our example. A protection lamp sheds a protective light.
Mm-hmm.
A love lamp sheds a loving light, etc. And the primary way they're used is by what I call setting a hen on her eggs, which is where you put the lamp on top of flat materials, petitions, pictures, in the case of money lamps, bills, or objects that you're trying to buy, payments, bank statements, etc., so that the lamp, like a hen on her eggs, hatches them out, allows you to gain progress. The second way that they are used is the circle of light that they produce. Obviously, a lamp is going to be omnidirectional, not unidirectional. It creates a circle of light. And so within that circle of light, we could place, stand-up pictures or any kind of materials that might not be flat, that might not be able to go under the lamp, so that they are within the light of that lamp.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a picture of my husband and I in the light of the love lamp. It's a picture of my kids in the circle of light of the protection lamp, etc. The only thing we want to be careful about with that is that we do not have any of those objects casting shadows on other things. So as an example, let's say you had a protection lamp, you have a picture of your son and a picture of your daughter. They're in stand-up frames, and the daughter's picture is a little more forward and it is casting a shadow over the son's picture. Now, the very first thing is going to happen is he's going to start having disagreements with his sister. He's going to start saying things like, let's say, the mother is the one with the lamp. Mom always likes you best. Mom doesn't care about me. He's feeling that he's in the shadow. Yeah. Then they're in a car together. They get in a car accident. Mom runs up to the hospital. She goes in. They say, all right, Mrs. So-and-so, your daughter's fine. She's got a couple of bad bruises and a small cut. We're going to release her tonight. Your son didn't make it. It's strange. It's almost like he shielded your daughter with his own body. He was in the shadow. She received the protection. He didn't. So we want to be careful about that. That being said, if you're clever and have somebody you need to fuck over, you can put them in the circle of a lamp, a positive lamp, and make sure they're in the shadow to deny them love, money. So you can curse with a positive lamp by putting somebody in a circle. But that's basically a conjure lamp. People will say, well, wait a minute, you feed a mojo bag. What do you feed a conjure lamp? The oil. Literally the oil that goes in it. That's why you never want one to completely dry out. And I have seen conjure lamps. People have brought me conjure lamps that their grandparents had made, and they're like, does this still work? And I check them, and there's just a little bit of oil still in there. All these years, we fill it up with oil. We try to conjure the spirits. I'd say 8 times out of 10, it comes back. It's like, yeah, I'm still here. I was sleeping. I was resting. And they can go on using that. There are 2 main kinds of lamps, so what I call closed lamps and open lamps. A closed lamp is a lamp that you might make for yourself, sir. That's just to protect you. And it has your name in it. Maybe it has your picture in it. It's only for you. It's not going to protect anybody else. An open lamp is just a protection lamp that you might then put your picture under or next to, but you might put your spouses or your kids or your parents it's open. And that open lamp you could pass on to a descendant because it's not just for you. A closed lamp, once you're gone, what good is it anymore? But sometimes people need that level of focused work.
Now, could you take a closed lamp and reinvent it, repurpose it for something else? Or
you'd pretty much be starting over. So I would say no. I mean, could I take all of your internal organs out and put them back? Maybe. But maybe we should look at some other solutions. Maybe a little diet or something. But yeah.
Okay. Well, the so yeah, I mean, seeing this on your site, I was kind of fascinated by it, but I didn't quite get the picture, and hearing you explain it just now definitely fills in the blanks for me. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. The other thing I would say about them is here's how they're different than a piece of candle work. A piece of candle work is going to be a bit like a firework. It goes off,
Mhm.
boom, pop, 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 pop. We get a result. And then it's over. The conjure lamp is steady. So, like, think about just the material cost as well as the physical activity of doing a candle work
Mhm.
that you do for 90 days. You have to have, if every candle only lasts a day, you've got to have 90 candles, and you've got to watch them, and you've got to light one candle off of the last candle before it sputters out and keep it and watch it. A lamp, you just light it, and if you're clever, you can learn how to undo the burner without the flame going out and add more oil and screw it back on. I've burnt a lamp solid for 3 months that way.
Hmm.
So you're getting longer work, but it's slower. It's because we want a low, steady flame, not a big flickery flame. Because a big flickery flame on a lamp just makes a bunch of soot and
Mhm.
fucks up the chimney, and you get a little black circle on the ceiling. Uh,
Yeah.
but it's steady. It's steady and it's ongoing. And they're safer than candles, quite frankly. Everybody's a little freaked out. I've noticed this having sold conjure lamps for decades. People are very worried, very, very worried about the safety of an oil lamp. And I'm like, pal, if you're burning candles, this is a step towards safety, not away from safety.
Yeah.
And the reason I think it is two reasons. Western movies, where Black Bart or somebody comes into the saloon, fires off a 6-shooter, hits an oil lamp, and the whole place becomes a giant fireball.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, first of all, movie. It wouldn't be very goddamn dramatic if Black Bart hit a lamp and it just broke. Uh,
Yeah.
Second of all, they're using different things. They're using kerosene. They're using coal oil. They're using things that have a different flash point. And the second reason is a particular Irish woman's cow in the city of Chicago. And I'm like, is it your intention to use your conjure lamp in a barn? You're probably safe. Are you going to be doing a lot of conjure work around cattle? You're probably safe. Um,
Mhm.
all apologies to Mrs. O'Leary and her cow,
Yeah.
but they're just safer. Candles are solid fuel. If a candle falls over and doesn't go out, it will continue to burn, and that flame is open to the air. If it can get near a curtain, a tablecloth, a book, you've got a fire. The flame inside a lamp is contained within the chimney. If it falls over, which it shouldn't, but maybe, there's a lot of fracking in your area. So now for some reason you have earthquakes. How strange. Maybe
Yeah.
if it falls over, that flame is still inside. Even if the chimney cracks, it's still inside there. Worst thing that will happen is you'll get a very black spot that might cause the chimney to crack because the flame's touching one place constantly. But they're much safer. They're much, much safer. So time, utility, expense, being able to do ongoing extended work. These are all the benefits of a conjure lamp if you understand that it's going to be like a hen on her eggs. It's a slower, longer process than that firework from the candle work, which is absolutely valid. Candle work is absolutely wonderful, but sometimes I need a longer, slower process than a pop, pop, pop.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I tend to think of slow and steady as being more advantageous and maybe even less risky. Um,
I have heard that it wins the race.
Yeah, that too, which is handy if you're a gambler. So, but it seems like um, there's a whole lot you can do with just a deck of playing cards. Um,
Absolutely.
but much like the candles, it seems like you have to have a good consistent supply of decks.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
luckily they cost $1 at the dollar store.
yeah, that's pretty
Uh,
easy to get them. Yeah.
and I tell people, listen, a lot of these card spells can be done, these card tricks, which gets interesting, because in Hoodoo we say a trick, but then we put the word card. Somebody thinks that's something else. But these card works, these card pieces, card conjuration and sorcery can be done with a deck of tarot cards.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was in Salem, Massachusetts 2 weeks ago, and I was in and out of shops and looking around the place. And let me just tell you, if you think I'm going to take a card out of a deck, a $65 deck of tarot cards, and tear it up, mark on it, burn it up, put it next to a candle, get wax on it, you're living in a daydream. I don't know what you're thinking. I'm going to go down to the gas station, okay, and buy $1.25, or honestly, I go through so many because of my practice and my work. I buy them at Costco. They come in a box about what is that? 2 foot tall. And there's like 10, there's like 12 or 20 in there. And I just go through them. Well, Professor, what do we do with the deck when I've taken the card? Well, now it's called a broken deck. And so what I do with them is I separate them out, all the hearts into one pile, et cetera, et cetera. And then I just put them in a manila envelope. So then I don't have to break another deck. I can just go, oh, I need an eight of hearts. Oh, here's an 8 of hearts. Right.
Yeah.
The primary thing about playing card work is in Hoodoo and Conjure, we talk about personal concerns. We sometimes call them witnesses. So this is, oh, I want to do a spell 4 on you. So I need some of your hair or your sweat or your blood or your tears or a piece of clothing that you've worn that you haven't washed yet because it's got your sweat in it, your fingernail or toenail clippings, anything that's had contact with you. That can include a business card. That can include your signature. You wrote your signature out yourself with your own with your own hand. Business cards are particularly good. And people are like, yeah, how personal is it? And I'm like, listen to what people say when they hand out a business card. You will often hear someone say, this is me. If you ever need to get in contact with me, if you ever need to get a hold of me, it's like, thanks, sucker.
Right.
So what does that have to do with playing cards? Well, if I'm doing a piece of divination for you and I'm not using a specialized deck, like, oh, this is my favorite deck, I'm just using a deck of cards, and I'm reading, and you have an enemy, and we're reading about the situation with the enemy, and that enemy comes up as, let's say, oh, the Jack of Spades. Mm-hmm. All right. In the reading, we identified the person. We've already touched them through unseen means. We've got them. It's right here in front of us. There's the Jack of Spades. We know that's them. I can now take that Jack of Spades and use it as a connection to that person because it's already touched them through the unseen ether, if you will, the means of divination. It's already in contact with them. It identified them. It said, that sucker right there, that guy right there, it's that guy. Mm-hmm. So now I can work that. I can't read that deck anymore, but that's again why it's like the lamp, utility, expense. They're cheap. So
yeah,
if you're someone like me, you end up with 4,000 broken decks and manila envelopes the size of goddamn, looks like you're doing money payments to hitmen. But yeah, they're eminently and wonderfully accessible. You can get them everywhere. They have a long history of this. This is not new. It's not even exclusively American. We have stories about how the Queen of England they attempted to put a curse on her. She found under her chair the Queen of Hearts, which was interesting that the stylization at that time for that Queen of Hearts in England was actually her grandmother with an iron nail driven through it. So we have a history of these being done, certainly in the Americas, absolutely, amongst different cultural and ethnic groups, absolutely. But yeah, playing cards are they're just wonderful for this. The things you can do with them, you can write a petition on them, you can burn them up, you put them on candles, you can arm them to protect you. You can do all sorts of different things.
Yeah. And I mean, in a deck of spells, you're talking about like the history of cards. And in that section, when I reread it again in anticipation of talking to you, I felt like I could really relate to that because I think a lot of people have probably had this, maybe not a ton, but there's like a certain obsession that comes with the cards where it's something you've seen your entire life, but then one day you look at them differently and you want to know more. You want to know where they came from.
Yeah.
Every time you see a deck of cards, you're like, that I don't have that one. I want that one. You
Yeah.
know, so I have tons of playing card decks just around because it's like I can't help myself. If I'm at a
Oh
yard
no.
sale and I
Yeah.
see a deck, I'm like, oh, I got to grab that. Uh,
The
um,
first deck of cards I started reading professionally, I used to read tarot.
yeah.
And my tarot card deck that I used was my mother's. She had been a professional reader in Houston, Texas, back in the 70s. And when I started reading professionally, she gave me her old deck. And then when I switched to playing cards, I got, because of death in the family, I got a deck of cards that my grandparents had used, not for reading, but still it was their deck of cards. So I still had that ancestral connection. I still have that deck. I don't read with it anymore. When Mr. Hanson died, his granddaughter sent me his deck of cards.
Oh wow.
He has all these writings on them. He has all these different and very different interpretations than I use, and including number sequences that to this day I kick myself in the ass. I'm like, why did I not find out from you? Why does this card say 7339? I still don't
Yeah.
know. But that was all his system. I'm very, very blessed and proud to own his deck now and to keep it. Someday I'll pass it on as well. But most of the time I just use a regular deck, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And there is a belief in Hoodoo and Conjure. You know, we have all these weird rules. There are a lot of weird rules that I say are, quote, strange anti-magical prohibitions. And it's some wag telling you why you can't do something in magic. And what's strange about them is they seem to primarily be designed to get people to not do magic,
Mm-hmm.
except they're a magician. And so we hear, you have to be gifted a deck of cards. Oh, a witch has to put a deck of cards into a bottle and fart into it and then put a cork in it and throw it in the sea. And you have to find it. You have to keep your cards in black velvet. You have to keep your cards in purple cloth. You have to keep your cards out of the sunlight. You have to, man, I've been doing this for decades and none of that shit has ever come the fuck up. I can
Mm-hmm.
walk into a gas station, buy a deck of cards, walk out and read your cards on the hood of your goddamn Chevy. All right.
Yeah.
And so one of those strange anti-magical prohibitions is you must never play games with the deck you read. Except in Hoodoo and Conjure, we are taught and told on numerous occasions that a deck that has been read for you is now lucky for you in games of skill or chance.
Yeah.
So you get a deck, and I do that, by the way. I have a little thing where, oh, do you want me to read a deck of cards to you and then mail it to you? And people will do that because they want that deck of cards. And I know personally that some of them then, when friends come over and go, let's play a couple of hands of poker or blackjack, they're like, oh, I got a deck. Hold on,
Yeah.
sucker.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And like you said, if that deck, if it's the other way around and you had a deck that somebody played with, it's like you could uh increase or destroy their fortunes in
their
future
fortunes, their
games.
luck. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Which is
wow.
not to say
Super
that there
interesting.
aren't certain prohibitions. It's not to say
Right.
this is just a movable feast and do whatever the fuck you want. Every system of magic has a structure, has a
Mm-hmm.
framework, has a kind of lattice that you want to stay within. Otherwise, you're not doing that. You're doing something else.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with innovation. You know, we're not supposed to just be reduplicating what happened in the past forever and ever and never doing anything new. But we are supposed to consider what we're doing and why we're doing it. And is this innovation or is this just flagrant don't give a fuckness? Uh, don't give a fuckness sometimes works, but often explodes. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, to each their own.
Right.
That's all I can say. There are people that read cards in a completely different manner than I do, and it works. And one of the first rules of hoodoo is if it works, it is true. So, if you can sit down and read cards in a way that I think is insane, and everything you're telling me is right or turns out to be right, guess that works. But so does mine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about, you mentioned tarot, because I do read tarot, and I have for a long time. But, there's a million novelty decks of tarot out there with like cartoon characters or
Hello
like
Kitty.
fantasy and I fear that some people would get the idea that those aren't legitimate tarot decks. But I mean, they totally are. I mean, if
it's legitimate to you, it's legitimate,
Yeah, if it resonates with the reader, I think, if it makes sense to them, then who's to say that it doesn't have to be the Pamela Coleman Smith drawings,
Well, the thing I have noticed is that we like to do in society is we like to take sayings that offer wisdom, and we like to alter and truncate them to say what we want them to say.
Yeah,
and so a lot of people say the proof is in the pudding. Well, listen, sucker, you can dig through a bowl of pudding with a spoon until the cows come home, and you will never find any proof. The saying is the proof of the pudding is in the tasting.
Yeah,
that makes sense. And this is a situation of that. If you have a deck of, I don't know, hey, shout out to all my tabletop RPG peeps. If you have a Mage the Awakening tarot card deck, which they did release one, and you dig it and you love it, and you can give good readings with it, they're accurate for you or for others, then the proof of the pudding is in the tasting, right? It's working. If you can't, then is that you? Is that the deck? Is that what you're doing? Like, now it becomes a much more complex issue. But I'm a big believer that we need to go back to full ass sayings. The customer is always right. No, Karen, that is not the saying. The saying is the customer is always right in matters of taste.
Yeah.
If Miss Karen wants her house painted bordello pink, fucking paint that. And you're a house painter, paint it the color she wants. It's not your business. If the guy at the tailor shop wants a powder puff blue 1974 wide lapel with white ruffles suit, he's going to look a fool, but what is it your business? But they're not right in everything else. They're only right in matters of taste.
Yeah.
They're not right about scheduling, or you have to give me a return or whatever, bow down and kiss my ass. No, fuck off, Karen.
Yeah. One of my favorites is imitation is the highest form of flattery. It was one that a lot of people say, and it's
that actually mediocrity
can pay to
greatness, right?
Greatness.
Here's one of my favorite. Great minds think alike. Yeah, great minds think alike, but fools seldom differ.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we all in agreement because we're just brilliant, or are we all just kind of fucked up here?
Well, a cursory glance around. I mean, I don't need a deck of cards to tell me that most of us are pretty fucked up here.
How can you expect people to act sane when they live in an insane system?
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I do feel like cracking up every day, a little bit, because it just seems like everybody carries on as though this is all normal. But
yeah, I can no longer laugh. My laugh started to become Joker-esque.
Right.
I was like, slipping over the line here.
Yeah.
Is this my villain era? But what do you think about that, Batsy boy? So yeah, it was. It's bad out there. It's getting dark. But it's been dark before.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's often the underworld that pulls everybody else back up, or it gets that going, at least greases the wheels a bit. Gets
the thing
gets
I
those
said
gears moving.
the thing I said in Salem that it didn't cause a stir, but some people were a little like, wait a minute, what? As I said, so the horrors will persist. And the irony of that is that to some extent they need to. And
Yeah.
people weren't sure they liked that. And they did say, what the hell do you mean by that? And I said, you are experiencing the horrors. Beforehand, there were people who were experiencing the horrors.
Yeah.
And you're engaged in a kind of illumination that, oh shit, the horrors, because now it's affecting you.
Mm.
And if the horrors start to affect enough people that normally are untouched by the horrors, then maybe we might actually do something about it. And that
Yeah.
fucking sucks. But the horrors have been here before, and we did fuck all. And that goes back to illegality versus criminality. Slavery was legal. The Holodomor was legal. The Holocaust was legal. And if you tried to stop it, you were illegal. You were a criminal for trying to stop that. So just because something is right does not mean that it is legal. And just because something is legal does not mean that it's right. It means that's the law. And sometimes some of us break the law in the progression of a better world. We go, no, it's wrong to let kids starve. And I don't care that your law says kids can starve. No, it's wrong to assassinate or kill people because they're gay or lesbian or bi or trans or queer, and to walk into clubs and spray the place down. No, I don't give a shit if you're okay with that. No, I don't give a shit if you think that it's all right. Let me tell you that it's a startling thing. If you study serial killers, you'll find that they primarily have groups, like successful serial killers. Why were they successful? You look at the victimology, and the two primary victim groups are women over 45 and prostitutes and people that are in LGBTQIA. They get away with it. Why? Because the cops don't investigate as much.
Right.
Okay. If there was a serial killer right now only killing senators' daughters, I guarantee we'd catch him inside 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, at this point, only senators on one side of the aisle.
That is unfortunately very true. Yes.
Well, because we've literally had some senators shot.
Yeah. Is it unfortunate though? This is what I mean about the horrors persisting. Right?
No, I absolutely get what you're putting down, and I have thought the same thing. I mean, that thought occurred to me last November, and I thought about it, and I thought, well, I guess we really do have to see everything burn down before people realize it's fucked. Like, people need to feel the pain. Like, they're not, if they don't actually feel it,
they're going to have to be uncomfortable. And the most important thing that everybody can realize is, quote, you're next.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're next, buddy. You're next. They're not going to stop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because they're picking on your favorite pick-on group, you bully, just because you're like, oh, well, I don't really care about that to those people, so fuck them. That doesn't make you safe. That makes you opening the gate. That makes you the person who's like, yeah, sure, come on in here and grab people out of their work. Come in here and be masked fucking whatever you are and have no identity. And, you're allowing that every time you don't stand up and say no. And when you allow that, you're allowing that to become the system as it exists. And you're next, pal. I have no qualms about saying that because I know exactly where I'm at on the list. Okay.
Yeah.
I am not safe the fuck at all and too goddamn bad. That's why I'm so loud.
Yeah.
A lot of people have said, well, shouldn't you be quiet? And I'm like, oh God, no. Which can you be, loud and caught or quiet and caught? I'd rather be loud. They're gonna drag my ass out screaming all the way. Okay. But that's the way that is. We're not safe. It's not okay. It's getting dark outside. Stand the fuck up and do something. And that doesn't mean you have to go to a protest. That doesn't mean you have to be a quote unquote warrior. You can start food banks in your community. You can advocate for houseless people. You can start community centers for abused women or help at one that already exists. You can do the same for people in the LGBTQ community. You don't, we've got to have people who cook the food and wash the dishes too. We've got to have people who give care too. We've got to have healers too. We've got to have poets too. We've got to have musicians too. We've got to have everybody to get through this, not just, because a lot of people do have accessibility issues, or they have age issues, and they're like, I can't go to the protest. And it's like, okay, then do something else. But there's something you can do, even if it's only with one other person. Do it. Because if I do something to help one person, and they do something to help one person, pretty soon it's like a bad Vidal Sassoon commercial. Pretty soon, there's a difference. But we
Sounds
have
like
to
the old
that.
Coca-Cola commercial,
right? And they told two friends, and so on. Yeah.
No, I absolutely agree with that. Small acts of kindness have a rippling effect, in everything that you can do. But more practically, right now, it's going to be necessary to have networks of community that aren't extant now, and we can't count on the structures that we have to care for people. We're really going to have to be on our own, but on our own together,
And we're going to have to get away from some purity politics. We're going to have some allies who we don't like. I'm not talking about Nazis or the Klan or people who want us dead. I'm just saying there's going to be some people that we don't like what they like. Oh, I'm really into Charmed. I'm like, oh God, you're really into Charmed. Jesus. Okay. Well, but you're still here. Yeah. You're still willing to be here in the line with me. So, okay, let's, maybe I can get you into Supernatural and slowly wean you off. I don't know that. It's not my job, but we're going to have some allies who we do not perfectly match with.
Right.
As long as they're not bad, as long as they're not monsters, because the monster always wants to come in and say they'll help you. So then they can build their little empire. Well,
I think sanity is a good qualification, and I'm sad to say that, because I'm somebody that talks about conjuring the Loch Ness monster using magic, or the magic behind Elvis, or Bugs Bunny communicating.
If it works, it's true. If it works, it's true. I have a legacy student who actually does a good deal of ancestral work, because ancestors do not have to be blood, and does work with Elvis. So when you said that, I'm just like, yeah, okay, moving on. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Finch does a good deal of work with Elvis. And so that's not a shocker to me,
Yeah.
It's the way it is. I mean, everybody wants something fancy. And sometimes it's just what's on the ground,
Yeah. Well, I mean, in terms of divination, when we were talking about that earlier, I was thinking I have a deck of trading cards that's like the saucer people trading cards. They're just UFO events and concepts on trading cards. I've used those for divination before, and to my surprise, they worked.
Well, this is the thing, like bibliomancy as an example. Traditionally, it's the Bible, but it can be any book as long as it is a large enough book. It has to have enough volume. So you could completely do bibliomancy with the complete works of Shakespeare. If you had it all published together in a single book, and they do have these nowadays. They didn't have these back when I wanted it. You could use the Lord of the Rings, but you have to have volume. You have to have context. You have to have enough verbiage to be able to do effective bibliomancy. But it could be any book. Hopefully, it's a book you have familiarity with. So, like, if you're not into Elizabethan speech, maybe don't use the complete works of Shakespeare for your bibliomancy. Which of course leads into radiomancy, which is not what it should technically be called, and technical answers are the best answer, but radiomancy should properly be called canticomancy, but it's a form of divination using songs that are played at random, either on your radio or a large, again, like we're talking about with bibliomancy, a large playlist that has something that absolutely randomizes it. We used to call it radio tarot back in the day, and you only did it in a car.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I used to
radio.
call it radio roulette. I'd put it
Yeah.
on scan and let it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been around since the time of the Greeks.
Yeah.
Oh, I've encountered this music, these songs, and these are the themes of them. I was walking from here to the forum to listen to Plato say something, or to show us really badass bitchin' wrestling moves. I like to think in my mind that Plato sounded a bit like Macho Man Randy. Like, oh, today, brother, we're going to be talking about the self. Can you smell what's cooking at the forum? I'm like, okay.
The Platonic ideal wrestler right there.
Yeah.
Philosopher.
Yeah. Yeah. I love all the people. I love all the people who make these posts about, like, can you imagine Plato coming back and seeing how we use the word Platonic and being insulted? And I'm like, he never would do that.
Yeah.
Like, he never would be like, oh, well, so I'm just like a cock-blocked fucking cuck. No, he literally did it for that reason. He literally was like, you know what? There are way too many guys fucking their students as part of the teacher-student relationship. And I'm not going to do that. And that seems wrong to me. And so they called it Platonic teaching. And so I think if he saw how we were still using Platonic, he'd be like, big thumbs up. Yeah, you got it. Good. Wow.
Glad that caught on.
Yeah, glad that caught on. Oh, yeah, you ain't fucking your students anymore. Good. Hey, win for me.
Right.
Okay, apparently I was wrong about matter, but hey, at least I was right about not fucking your students. Which has mattered more. Yeah.
Well, what is mine? No matter.
Well, I know that we talked a bit before we did this, and I know that, ladies and gentlemen, watch me put my own host on the spot. I know you have a series of hard-hitting, deep-diving, firebrand level questions that get to the heart of who the fuck I am and what I'm doing. And by all means, unleash them now. He does not, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just ragging on him. The guy's nice enough to have me on my show, and then I give him shit. But
I deserve it, I'm sure.
Just drag him out. I don't care.
Well, I mean, I had mentioned earlier in the introduction of this show, and it touches on what we're talking about now, is what I started calling, kind of jokingly, messages from the cosmos, where I felt like, in a divinatory sense, is kind of what you were talking about. Almost everything you see can have little meanings to it as you're walking through your day. Yeah,
absolutely. And that is where we get into augury, which originally was the examination of the movement of birds, and then later their entrails. But when we look at the old dream books, even some of them were used by things you might encounter. Like, oh, today I saw a pig. What does a pig mean? Particularly if you lived in a place where it was unusual to, I was on 42nd and Broadway and a pig ran by. Holy shit, that probably has some meaning. You could check the book and it would say, oh, here's the meaning. It wasn't just limited to dreams. But yeah, that divining through the environment is absolutely a thing. It's just not a calculatory system. And I prefer calculatory systems. I like to be able to ask yeses and nos. Is this or isn't that? The rest of it is very omonistic, as would be things like, what do they call the oracle cards? These are omonistic systems, and they have validity. They just don't function well for me in my business because I'm having to ask direct questions. Is her husband cheating on her? Okay. I don't want to be told things like, well, when one comes to the well of the self, the water of the well of the self is stilled by the lack of thought. But when we take a drink, we disrupt the water and thus ourselves. I'm like, no, is he cheating on her with Rita at work or not? I'm not here, which is part of the reason I had to start getting away from tarot. Not that is inherent to Tarot, but it became inherent to Tarot culture.
Yeah.
It all got a little Jungian for me.
Right.
And not that that's invalid or that has no place, but it wasn't working for what I needed it to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because there is kind of a no bullshit approach when you're using the playing cards.
Playing cards will read you for filth. Absolutely. They are not kind at all.
Yeah. It's straight into the point. Where I've found with tarot sometimes you're really getting off in the weeds, and like
and
getting
there are many traditional tarot readers who can read that in a calculatory method. Absolutely, you can do calculatory methods with tarot. I'm just saying, as a culture, it just started to go that way. And that became the main emphasis of it. That is not to say that every reader read that way, or that there are no good books, or there are no good teachers of an older and more direct system or more direct approach. It's just that's the way we went. And that happens all the time with all sorts of things, you know. And also, as it got more Jungian, I had to bail because I really don't have any time for Carl, that Nazi Jung. And about Carl Jung wasn't a Nazi. I'm like, oh yeah, oh really,
Yeah.
Here's a whole bunch of shit that Carl wrote. Well, was his sister? Was it his sister? Now you're confusing him with Nietzsche. But it's just whatever. I got no time for that stuff. I really have no time for his biggest fanboy in the world, Campbell. I am not a believer in universalism. I do not think all stories are one stories, all gods are one god. I'm like, wow, what? That really smells a lot like white supremacy to me. I have no time for Blood and Bund. And Jung absolutely was a proponent of Blood and Bund, and these of this, you have to be of this land and of this blood and of this genetic heritage. And I'm like, and a quick armband and some Krieg's lights, and we've got a real workable party here. No. So I like specifics. Even when those specifics are specifically vague, as crazy as that may sound as a sentence. I don't like this overreaching, let's reduce everybody down. I want the beauty of us all being individualistic and coming from different places. I like the stew that makes, rather than, well, it's got meat and potatoes. It's like, okay, well, so does everything. So, can we put some cayenne pepper in there?
And to your point, there's a tendency towards kind of traditionalism that is invented just to have some kind of superiority, especially when you're talking about, what became the thesis for Campbell. I'm glad you brought that up, because I always have people. I had one guy on social media that wanted to point out the problematic aspects of literally anybody I posted about, as though I didn't know. Yeah. And then I saw him post like a big fanboy thing to Joseph Campbell, and I'm like, okay, man, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, hello. Your fave is problematic as well, buddy. But I think the thing about it is like what I've noticed with quote traditionalism is it's all well and good until nationalism comes in the room.
Yeah.
And then traditionalism gets real ugly. And I am not, even within my own practice, I'm not heterodoxical. I'm orthodox. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I want to do it the old way. I believe in that. But the minute nationalism joins up with traditionalism, the next thing, it's Papers bitter next. It's Sieg Heil. I mean, it's quick. This is not the only group of people who ever did this shit. We just remember them because they started a world war that involved every continent on the goddamn planet. But they weren't the first and they won't be the last. And so this, and that doesn't mean that people shouldn't have what's theirs and have pride in it. I mean, look, let's face a reality here. White supremacy exists because of the concept of whiteness, and whiteness is a made up thing. And whiteness, part of the entry fee to be in whiteness and to be in white supremacy is to give up everything else in favor of whiteness. Right? You're not German, you're not Czechoslovakian, you're not Scottish, you're not French, you're white. And white doesn't have a culture. And people often point out white has no culture. And the reason is because it's invented. It's fucking German people have a culture, right? Good or bad, hey, listen, I'm not trying to put anybody German down, but 2 world wars, guys? Really? Two? Bad track record, pal. But they've done a lot to try to rectify that, but I mean, they have a culture. Scottish people have a culture, etc. And you can only create black by having a white.
Yeah.
And then you have to separate people. You have to kidnap them. Literally we're going to go over in boats with weapons, and we're just going to kidnap fucking people. And then those people are not Kenyan. They're not Nigerian. They're not from Angola, although Angola didn't exist as a country in the slavery period. But they're not from the Bay of Benin. They're not Congolese. They're over here. They're slaves. We enslaved them. They're kidnapped fucking peoples. And now they're black. And I'm white. And the whole thing is predicated on that. It's just a crazy ass system that's not that new. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I mean, to your point, there are certain nationalities that had to work their way toward whiteness. Like the Irish weren't exactly. Irish weren't welcome.
No, the new white is absolutely a thing. Okay,
right.
But what's interesting is when you study the concept of the new white, the entry cost is always the same. The entry point is almost, not for everybody, but almost always the same, and that is cop. Oh, now we'll let the Irish be cops. And to this day, we still imagine and have in media, oh, the Irish, oh, now, you lads run along. What are you doing here? Oh, we're sorry, Sergeant O'Leary. Okay. But there was a time when Irish could not be cops. Then Italians can be cops. Then it goes on and on and on. It's part of the entry fee. And isn't that interesting that the entry fee is joining the oppressive system, becoming the street soldier for the oppression, shows us, oh, now you're in the club. And that's pretty fucked up,
Yeah. Or in the case of the Italians, and mafia members working with intelligence agencies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is what you said earlier. That's absolutely true. As long as it's useful.
Yeah.
Right. As long as it's useful to us. And then when it's not, you're back out of the club. So, yeah. But, right about now, there's somebody in the future listening to this hating my guts, and that's fine. Good for them. I don't care.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, all time is happening simultaneously anyway, so.
Well, that's a theory. I mean, who knows? I don't know. There are better minds to figure that out. All I know is that time is a function of gravity, and outside of that, I'm out of the debate.
Okay. Yeah. On the topic of messages from the cosmos as well, and finding playing cards out in the wild, since it's something that's happened to me a lot. And before we were recording, you had mentioned that somebody that has constructed an entire deck of cards from cards they've found, just kind of out and about. What do you think that means? Like, how would you interpret that? I mean, I've classically taken it as a case-by-case thing and interpreted the cards that I found as divination. But do you think there's a greater meaning if you're finding cards?
So I think first of all, that's a very good question and an excellent question. And as an old professor of mine said, whenever you ask a question and someone says that's a good question, they don't have a fucking answer. I think it's very complicated. Me personally, like, I understand why people do that. I think that has validity to it. I think interpretations, I call them messages in the street.
Right.
And for me, messages in the street are not just limited to playing cards. I mean, to me, I'll look at trash, flyers, pamphlets, sometimes personal notes that people have lost, grocery letters, etc. To me, these are all messages from the street. And I've had a lot of good auricular kind of contact with that. But for me, I am not advising this for everyone else, but for me, I never touch a fucking playing card that I find in the street.
Yeah.
Because I have been the force that has put some of those playing cards in the street.
And it hasn't always been for nice reasons.
Yeah.
And so I'm always sus about it. I'm
Oh,
always,
particularly spades, right?
well, no. So I know of at least one fairly well-known worker, a fairly famous name, that was being courted by a gentleman. And he was coming around, he was talking to her and come out on a date with me and whatever. And she was a little interested in him, but not too interested in him. And he took her one night to go out to dinner and took her a slightly different, we're walking a slightly different way than we would normally walk. And there was one of the hearts. It might have been the ace of hearts. It might have been the queen of hearts in the path. And he was like, oh, look. Oh, wow. That's 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 a good sign about the, and she picked it up and kept it and immediately started having stronger feelings for him. And only later did she realize that he had been the one who had left it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that on their walk,
Right.
she could accidentally encounter it. And he had worked it. So yeah, often spades, but not just limited to spades. And so to me, I don't think of them as all being malefic or like, oh, this is all radiation. Don't touch radioactive material. To me, it's just like, I don't need to be involved. Right. Oh,
Yeah.
look, it's a two of hearts. That's great. I hope it works out for them. I hope they're happy together, but I ain't getting involved in that shit. I just
Right.
look at the card. I go, okay, maybe I'm seeing that for a message. I don't need to, how do I put this? If a crow landed on my shoulder and cawed 3 times, I would think that might be a message. I wouldn't feel the need to grab the crow and twist his head off to look inside like a fortune
Yeah.
cookie. I would go, oh, crow's done this. So I see the card. I go, oh, six of diamonds. That's a pretty good card. Maybe that means I'm on the, street paved with gold. Maybe there's fortune on the street for me today. Maybe the businesses on this street are doing really well, but I don't pick it up
Mhm.
because I'm like, no, first of all, let it continue.
Yeah.
Maybe more than I am supposed to have that message, but I understand why people do. And all I would say is, yeah, super be careful about the spades you pick up.
Right.
And if you see a card that has other work on it and you pick it up, you're a goddamn fool. I saw a card that
Right.
had candle wax melted on it. You're an idiot if you pick it up. I saw a
Yeah.
card that had needles put through it. And you touched it.
Yeah.
I am aware that Instagram is loaded with these fucking people. Apparently, Instagram draws that sort of person. We found this bottle in the park, sealed up, and you can see inside. It looks like there's some sort of murky. We think there are nails in. We're going to do an opening for you. I'm just like, good luck, brother. I mean, fucking, can people not learn to leave shit the fuck alone?
Yeah.
You know. And although whiteness
Yeah.
doesn't have a culture, it's totally a white person thing to do.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of them plant the stuff there to begin with, just so they can have content, and the whole
I
thing
wouldn't
is
either.
staged.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Absolutely. But sometimes we found these miniature coffins in this cave. Let's see what I'm like, bitch, get out. I
right.
mean, I'm like, well, gotta go.
Yeah,
But what about our spelunking? Fuck our spelunking. I'm leaving. You know,
yeah, yeah. Well,
this
I
is
tend
my
to agree with you. I
go ahead.
usually leave cards where they are. I just leave
Yeah,
them be. But I like to think about, what it was. Sometimes I'll take a picture with my phone just so I don't forget.
absolutely. Oh, I'll
Yeah,
take pictures, I'll examine them, but if there's writing on them, if there's material on them, if there's material in them threaded through them, I leave that the fuck alone every time, all the time, even if I can designate that was beneficial. Even if
right,
I'm like, no, that's positive, that's good, that's a nice thing, it still ain't my nice thing, you know?
right.
I don't walk into a bakery, lick my fingers, and start touching all the fucking cookies. Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Yeah, well, that's good advice, and good advice for people that may encounter playing cards out and about. Because I have been told by a lot of people, like, I have never seen a single playing card anywhere just sitting on the street, and it seems to happen to me more often than would be probable. But
The main reason I don't touch them is because in classes about playing cards, I talk about how because they are ubiquitous, they are easy to use as a delivery for spell work. So as an
yeah,
example of that, if you tomorrow woke up and opened your front door, I don't know, you're going to go get your mail, whatever, and on your doorstep were black, you think they might be rooster, they're probably chicken or rooster feathers, black feathers tied together at the end with red string, dipped in what looks to you like blood, with a yellow orangish powder around them. Holy shit! If you would touch that, I don't know how to help you. All right.
yeah,
But if you opened your door tomorrow, and let's say maybe there'd been some weather the night before, and there was a Snickers wrapper and a styrofoam cup that obviously had been used, and a two of spades, you might pick those up and throw them in your trash.
yeah,
You might pick that two of spades up and carry it into your house.
yeah,
And if I wanted that two of spades to be something to bring curse work into your house, I would leave it on your stoop with a Snickers wrapper and an empty plastic bottle. I would make it look like trash
right.
so that you would clean it up and
Mhm.
take it in. And so that's the reason I generally don't. It's like, they're too ubiquitous. That could just
Yeah,
be somebody was playing cards in the park and a wind came along, but it could be here for a reason. And that being said, if you're going to use cards like that, please do not display them. Don't walk up to the enemy's door and nail a ten of spades to their door, right?
yeah,
You might as well just write them a long letter. Dear sir, I hate your guts. You don't really know me, but you are cursed, 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 cursed now. Whatever. Like there's no subterfuge there, partner. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Like just try to not be so obvious.
Yeah. Yeah,
If you're
well, sometimes the obvious does work, though. I mean, you can tell somebody to drop dead, and they just might.
Yeah, I often, however, have found that the obvious has a intentional psychological component to it.
Yeah, yeah,
I may not even be doing spell work as much as I want you to think I'm doing spell work and thus modify in whatever way. And that's a legitimate tactic, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, people's belief is super important in that respect, or their suspicions anyway. You can just kind of drive somebody crazy without doing anything at all.
However, when we deal with anyone who is living within a culture, within a people's, that we have ways of dealing with this and we communicate that with each other, it's a really dumb idea
Yeah, I would think so.
because
Yeah,
hey, I told you that I'm a witch and that I did a spell on you. All right, I'm just going to go to a healer right now, today.
right.
Today, I'm going to go to somebody else who knows how to deal with that. Right. Thanks for telling me.
Yeah, right.
And so what I have seen is that when people are obvious about magic, particularly negative magic, it normally means they're removed from a cultural context. And that
Mm,
people that are a part of a cultural context are, how do I want to put this? They engage in more subterfuge,
right.
right? Because they have to. They know.
Or at least have a little more tact, I guess, about
Yes.
it. Yeah,
If
yeah,
people could see the video of this at this point, they would not notice me wandering away. But I'm still here in voice, ladies and gentlemen. So, so don't worry. I haven't gone anywhere. I'm just moving to a separate space for half a second. So please go on then.
yeah. Well, yeah. So I'm talking to an empty seat right now, but
But the voice is still here. So
uh, on an audio medium, you can't appreciate this very well. But Professor Porterfield has vanished from
yeah,
my eyes.
I just walked the fuck this show. I just walked away. I'm done. No, I'm just in the other room grabbing some extra cigarettes. Um,
Yep, that's well. You gotta be comfortable, you know.
But
Gotta
I've
have enough.
also, but to
So,
make a bit more of a point about that, I have also seen that those who are disconnected from a cultural, um milieu, a fancy word, of magic, they often it's kind of like they're throwing spaghetti at a wall, to see
Yeah.
if it sticks. Whereas those who are within a cultural situation, a cultural milieu, a cultural context, it gets a lot more serious a lot faster,
Hmm.
because there's a way we do this. And there are also lines we don't cross, because if we cross those lines, then we are called out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uh, and there are a lot of
Yeah.
places in the world to this day where bloodying the witch is still a thing, boys and girls. Okay. And what is bloodying the witch? Bloodying the witch is I can get any piece of spell work off of me if I know who did it to me by drawing blood from them, which literally
Yeah.
means, oh, somebody's cursing me and I know who it is. So I'll walk up to them in the street and punch them right the fuck in the nose, right the fuck in the nose, and bloody their nose. And oh, that broke the spell, you know?
Yeah.
So, and that's still a thing in a lot of the world. So you're well advised to be cautious about who you do work on
Yeah. Or around, or
or
how much you
around.
advertise. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I hate people that announce, like every sucker on social media that announces, I'm cursing so and so. I'm just like, you're a fool.
Right.
Why would you announce that? That's like you're giving them, you're literally telling them to up their protection. You're literally
Yeah.
telling them to up their cleansing. You're literally telling them to do return to sender, reversal work, the whole 9 yards. Like
Yeah.
my public statements about people I've cursed is I've never cursed a person in my life. What are you talking about? I'm the
Right.
friendliest guy in Texas. Uh, you know, why would
Yeah.
I tell you? But also it's not just negative work. Oh, I did blessing work for so and so. Okay, now somebody else can steal it. Now somebody
Mhm.
else can interfere with it. Now somebody else who doesn't like them could curse them, right? Like keep
Yeah.
this shit more on lock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, it also leads me to question what you're in it for if you feel the need to broadcast it all the time. Like, do you just want the recognition or a pat on the back or people to think you're a powerful sorcerer of some kind?
You
Or are you
know,
doing it for reasons, like,
the problem with that is that ego can be very destructive.
oh yeah.
And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back now and have a cigarette. You can't see that, but you'll just have to you'll just have to believe us. Um, and the problem with ego is, how do I want to put this? You don't get to be a decent magician, sorcerer, worker, whatever we want to call this, without some goddamn ego.
Hmm.
I mean, think about it. You're commanding things. You're making deals with things. You're casting out things. You're unafraid to banish a ghost. Some of that comes with ego, and so it becomes a very difficult tightrope to walk. That a lot of people fall off of real quick. Oh, I'm the great I am. Oh, I'm the best there ever was. It's like, you know what? Maybe you're just competent. I
Yeah.
mean, but you can't divorce it from ego, because otherwise, why the hell, if you had no ego, I've experienced ego death and I no longer have an ego. Well, first of all, kind of weird if you have had experienced ego death for you to tell me that you're kind of bragging that you have experienced whatever. Uh, if you had no ego, why would you be doing this? Why would you be
Right.
meddling? Why would you? How could you say, "I command, you shall appear now
Right.
in, you must"? Okay, that require, and the problem is that not ego as a thing isn't bad. It's how much,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
medicine,
Yeah.
all medicine is poison. It's all in the dosage.
Hmm.
A little bit of digitalis will help you with a heart condition. Just a tiny bit more will kill you immediately.
Yeah.
So it's all about that, and that's all you can do in life. But if you're going to get into a quote unquote business, and I don't mean money, I mean the world of things like this, you got to keep some of that shit in check. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
because there's always going to be somebody bigger than you, and there's always going to be somebody who has. And just because you have a rule doesn't mean they have a rule.
Yeah.
And there are going to be lots of really. And here's the other problem: crazy doesn't mean can't do magic.
Right.
There are crazy people right now building automobiles. Okay. In fact, there's a crazy guy right now. He's completely out of his goddamn mind who's trying to do an entire space program while running a social media company and shittily designed cars. And he's off of his fucking gourd, and yet he's still doing it. And so crazy doesn't always mean can't do. It just means it will be crazy. And so there are people in the magic biz who are completely out of their goddamn minds, and they will come to your house. They will kill a goat in your yard. They don't care, you know, and they'll do work that nobody has any business doing, just to get a result. And yeah, do they pay the cost eventually? Sure. Everything, there comes a reckoning, but you can get caught in the wheels as that machine grinds on.
Yeah. There's casualties along the way. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes it kind of scary, and I guess that's the benefit of having a teacher or a community when you're learning this stuff and implementing it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You should have people you can at least talk to. So you don't go off the fucking deep end. And I think the other problem with the world of the magical and the world of the spiritual is we feel like, and sometimes we're told that we're not supposed to have any judgment. We're supposed to accept it all. And it's like, no. If somebody's like, well, you know, I'm making six figures now. And I'm like, oh, that mazel tov. That's great. Yeah. You know, I kill a gray cat every Wednesday. And what I do is I get a really hot oven and I throw the cat in there. And then I got a padlock situation and the cat can't get out. And it makes a lot of noise. But let me just tell you, that money's flowing in. Hey, fuck you. You're a piece of shit. Okay. Well, we don't have the right to judge what. Yes, I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, watch me. Watch me. Watch me judge people who hurt kids. Watch me judge people who chew up other people. Watch me judge people who torture. Watch me. I don't give a fuck. But there are magicians that have historically. There are people who have historically put other people in concentration camps. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm not going to suddenly support it because, oh, well, you know, I mean, you know, you can't say that concentration camps aren't a historic. Yeah, they are. And fuck concentration camps, you know? No, I'm not getting down with that. You know, I'm not. And I'm allowed to say, this sounds insane. This sounds kooky. This sounds crazy, you know, or that's past my limits. And it's not always about torture and death. You know, sometimes it's, well, what you got to do is this. You got to get a yellow candle, okay? Let me just tell you here, Professor Dr. Strange, get yourself a yellow candle. And what you're going to do here is you're going to masturbate over that candle for 6 weeks. And you're going to keep that in your living room. You got to have it central in your living room. And I'm going to start saying, wait a minute. Where are we going with this? I'm not saying that there has never been any magic that uses semen. Of course there has. There's a plethora of it in fucking hoodoo. But 6 weeks in your living room? I mean, where, you know, let's use some things here. And what's interesting about that is there was a person in the community years and years ago who was running this really weird thing, which was he was burning certain candles for women. And what he would have them do is he would have them, you know, not to put too fine a point on it, to fuck themselves with these candles and then wrap them up in saran wrap and mail them to him. And the problem with that is half of that is correct. There are spells in which you can do that to get your vaginal fluids on the candle while you bring yourself to orgasm, thinking about the person, etc. But you don't then mail that to some unknown dude. In another part, like we've got to walk in between both sides of the street, the arcane and the mundane. Like I know people that only live in the mundane world. It doesn't matter. A crow could settle on them tomorrow and go, "Your mother needs you," and fly away, and they'd go, "What a strange thing for a crow to have picked up. I wonder where it learned that." Well, back to the stock market reports. And it's like, that's crazy. I know other people who will literally drive down a length of Texas fucking highway that is constantly being built on. No state in the union builds on the highways as much as Texas does. That's an actual fact. Who will get a flat tire because they hit something and go, I'm cursed. It's a jinx. And it's like, it's construction.
Yeah.
It's a nail. It's not you.
Right.
We can't live exclusively on either side of those streets, but we have to visit them. Right.
Yeah.
And
yeah. I mean,
since we're talking about crazy and we're talking about cultural attitudes, what we really need to understand is there's a lot of things that look like, quote, mental illness to white Western culture that are not. That's not mental illness. That's something else.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about people saying the crabs from Venus are telling me in my head that I should kill my mom. That's mental illness.
Yeah.
I'm talking about people using cultural language. I've been poisoned.
Right.
Absolutely normal cultural term in Hoodoo. I've been poisoned. Do they mean literally somebody put rat poison in their coffee? No, they mean someone's put work on them. But if you don't know that, then you think they're crazy. So that's an important part of that discussion.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, because it's akin to religious beliefs as well. You know, like you wouldn't necessarily say somebody's crazy for their religion.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it would depend. If you're in the majority religion, you would.
Right.
So.
Yeah, but I mean, if you went through a door and found yourself in a different world, and Rod Serling was standing there talking about what just happened, and and nobody had heard of your religion on the other side, even though it's the majority where you come from, they would think you're crazy.
Absolutely. But we still even have that on the ground. I mean, there are people who unabashedly go, let me get this straight. This guy, when he was young, got his head cut off. Yes. And this other deity, and this guy's a deity. Yes. And this other deity took an elephant's head. Yes. And put it on his body. Yes. And then he was fine. Yes. And so now one of your gods has the head of an elephant. Yes. That's crazy. Really? Check me now. In your religion, wasn't a virgin impregnated by a ghost to give birth to a demigod? Like everybody is always ready to judge the other. You know?
There was also a guy that was swallowed by a whale and lived.
And spit back up, right? I mean, you know, what was that? Pinocchio and Geppetto, I think. You know, I mean, whatever. It's and the only time this burns my ass is when I encounter certain people who are magical practitioners who mock other people's magic.
Yeah.
Who are like, well, that's just silly. And I'm like, don't you cleanse yourself with eggs? Well, that's completely legitimate. Huh. I'm not saying it's not. I've seen that work. But then why is their thing silly? When they're cleaning themselves with, I don't know, an animal's foot or whatever. Like let's have some grace for each other. Right. And again, the proof of the pudding is in the tasting. If that shit works, maybe you need to reevaluate.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean your thing is wrong. Your thing was working too. There can be more than one right answer, for God's sakes.
Yeah, I think there's a plethora of right answers out there, but there are some very wrong ones, as you said earlier.
There are some super wrong ones. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But they normally are harming. They're normally hurting somebody. And I don't mean like hurting people like in terms of a curse word hurting. I mean, they're hurting the person that's doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, they're harmful to all around in that case. Yeah.
I mean, there are even traditional things that we may reject at later points. I refuse to carry a buckeye nut that's been hollowed out and had mercury poured into it. Do I have absolutely historic reports that within Hoodoo and Conjure that's amazingly lucky? Yes. I also don't want neurological poisoning.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Mercury is intensely poisonous. I'm not willing to take that chance. Sorry. You know, but the old folks, well, they didn't know that it was that poisonous. You know, we can progress. We're not locked in here. That doesn't mean that I'm arguing for some sort of scientism that rejects magic. and rejects spirituality and rejects all that. I'm just saying Mercury's poisonous, right?
Yeah.
There's
Right.
no, and if you got a spell that makes Mercury unpoisonous, by all means, call me the fuck up. I would love to see the peer review data on that, bitch.
Well, I'm sure someone within the Mahra administration will be in touch.
Yeah, good old RFK had a
Yeah.
maniac. Yeah, so
Yeah.
but there
Yeah.
we go. But there are things within certain cultural contexts that don't fly in other ones. I mean, I was asked to come in and do a speaking a speaking engagement, and this was last year, and it was primarily about the dead and ghosts. And it turned out that there were a lot of people there who apparently have sex with ghosts. And I was like, "You're nuts." Okay. I would that is off the fucking chain around here. Okay. And they're
Yeah.
like, well, but I do it all the time. And I'm like, hey, that's great. I mean, there are people that like Miracle Whip. I mean, it's not for me. But I'm not going to do that. That just seems
Yeah.
like a bad call to me. You're going to go and have sex with a ghost. Okay.
Yeah.
What could go
Yeah.
wrong?
What indeed? Yeah. Well, how would you deal with ghosts like in hoodoo? How do ghosts like
So the
um
first thing I would say is the normative state of the dead is to be at rest.
yeah.
So if someone's not at rest, we're going to look for causes. Why is this person not at rest? I have been shocked by how many quote unquote ghosts that I have encountered, that what has ended the quote unquote haunting, these terms are way too broad,
Right.
has been me telling that individual that they're dead.
Yeah.
And
Some
I
of them
try to
just
do
don't
that.
know.
And I try to
Yeah.
do that I try to do that with the same level of empathy, sympathy, understanding, and gentleness that a doctor coming out of an operating room says to family members, your loved one has died. It's kind of a bastard move to go, you're fucking dead. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, and the minute they hear it, they're gone and the haunting stops.
Yeah.
So the first thing is that hauntings are messy. And they're not messy by themselves. They're messy about how we culturally think about these things. We really have to start asking ourselves about things like the soul. A lot of traditional and indigenous cultures around the world do not have a concept of a singular soul. They have a
Hmm.
concept of a multiplex soul. Like, this is the part of your soul that animates your body. This is the part of your soul that guides your intelligence and your personality. This is the part of the soul, whatever. And I have started to see that there is some kind of truth in that, because a lot of ghosts are not complete people.
Yeah.
Some of them are just literally repetitious loops, and that could just be
Yeah.
some sort of trauma response, whatever. And so we're not really dealing with the whole individual. Occasionally, we are dealing with the whole individual, and there's a lot of there's just, it's such a subtle thing that there's no one pat answer, right?
Hmm.
A lot of times, what I tell people when they have a ghost is, I'm like, this ghost is really not that disruptive. And no offense, you kind of moved into their house. We need more of like a mutual understanding rather than
Right.
drive people out.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do have to drive people out. We have no goddamn choice, or they need to be driven out. But there's no one pat answer to it. You have to be on the ground. You have to go in there. You have to look at what's happening, and then you try to clean it up or deal with it or make peace with it based on what's happening. The malevolent thing that we all think, horror movie, the ghost, right, whatever, is actually fairly rare. It does
Yeah.
exist. I've encountered it more than once, and it's a huge pain in the ass, and you're going to have to pull out some bigger guns there. You may have to use graveyard dirt to throw at them to remind them, salt. Uh, but sometimes almost having a kind of therapy works. Why are you
Yeah.
doing this? What's going on? I have now been in this business long enough that I have a bullet pointed list that I read through when people call me about their places haunted, and they are often shocked because it's like they end up going, my God, it's like talking to a contractor. I thought this was all going to be
Yeah.
spiritual. And I'm like, no, I wish. And so one of the first questions I say is, how long have you lived in the space? Well, we've been in this house 10 years. Okay. Has the haunting been going on for 10 years? No, 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 no. It started recently. Okay. It started recently. How long ago did it start? Oh, year and a half ago, 2 years ago, it started. And it's gotten worse. Oh, okay. Did someone die in the house during that period of time, or did you have someone close to you die during that? No, no, no. Okay. So you lived in the house 2 years ago. You lived in the house for 8 years. Nothing happened. Then 2 years ago, roughly, something started happening. Yes. What part of the house did you remodel? And they go, did you know we remodeled? And I'm like, because 8 years, nothing fucking happened. Then your grandmother didn't die in the house. Nobody died in the house. So you must have changed something in the environment. Well, we sealed up this doorway because we wanted to have a different breezeway. I'm like, yeah. And now that's where the wrapping's coming from, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Because it's still trying to walk through a fucking wall.
Yeah.
It is walking through a wall. And that's causing a bum, 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 bum. So there are approaches that you can learn from just on the ground experience, like a car mechanic almost. Was it always rattling when you went over 65? No, it's just started. Oh, okay. When was the last time you had the air filter checked? Oh, 2 months ago. Okay, and it's been rattling since then. Yeah, well, let's make sure the air filter's in there. Oh, see, it's loose. So when you come
Right.
up, more air and it rattle. We just screw this down. You're fixed. Oh, great. How much will that be? 595. Jesus Christ. Holy crap.
Yeah.
But there can be systemic understanding of these things. And that's what's necessary. Otherwise, generally
Right.
my advice is when it comes to quote ghosts is, can we stop having amazing adventures around places of great tragedy?
Mhm.
Good evening. Welcome once again to Urban Explorers. I'm Chip, and tonight, me and the team are going to crawl through the belly of this abandoned insane asylum. It was said to be the worst insane asylum in all of Illinois' history. Come along. And then I'm like, oh, and then you got problems? I wonder why.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
You notice you never see these sons of bitches out going, welcome to American Adventures. Tonight, we're going to be going to where the Trinity tests were. We're going to be standing at ground zero where the atomic bomb. It's like, no, they never do that, do they? But they'll crawl through mausoleums, insane asylums, murder houses, and then be freaked out that it's weird. It's like something's in the house now. It's like something followed us back. I'm like, yeah, how strange. How strange.
Yeah.
How strange. We went on Yelp. We combined our city ordinance notifications with Yelp, and we found the restaurant in our town that has been closed by the health board more than any other restaurant. Today, we're going to be eating the corn dog from that. I'm like, you're an idiot. We don't know why Chip had to go to the hospital for food poisoning. It's like,
Right.
really? Because the Board of
Yeah.
Health shut that place down 6 times, and it has a negative score on Yelp.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was possible. I thought 0 was it. So that's my advice. Like, let's stop fucking around. Let's stop. Like,
Yeah.
We went on a Holocaust tour and we went all through the death camps.
good luck. Kick ass.
Yeah. Well, I'm of the opinion that places that I think the heightened emotional experiences don't necessarily have to be negative. I mean, you could probably find hauntings of or energies left behind at a place where a big concert was, or a joyous event.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question. I'm going to give you 2 options here. Option
Okay.
A, you and your buddies can go over here to the Fillmore, and you might encounter a remnant of Janis Joplin singing her fucking heart out and be in the moment of that with the crowd. Choice A. Choice B, you and your buddies can, with headlamps and masks, can go through the morgue of the Pennsylvania State Insane Asylum that was known for torturing people to death
Mm-hmm.
before it was closed by the state.
Which is going to be a more potentially positive experience.
Yeah, I think the Fillmore probably.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the Fillmore. Yeah, I'm going to go for the Fillmore. You know,
That's
you
what
can
I'm
call me a
saying. That's what
coward.
I
I
would
don't
pick.
care. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You can call me everything but a child of God. But yeah, I'm going to go listen to Janice. I'm not going to go crawl through the, torture morgue.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just the way it is.
Yeah. Have you ever encountered entities that weren't ghosts of people who had lived before?
Yeah. I mean, I've encountered, certainly, first of all, I am here to report that there are some animals who do remain after death,
Okay.
particularly dogs, occasionally a horse. As far as I can tell, cats don't give a fuck. And they're like, later, off to my next 8 lives. But I have encountered quote unquote ghost dogs.
Okay.
I famously have one that lives with me, Jack, who's a very good boy, who's the best dead dog in the whole world. Who's the best dead dog? You're the best dead dog. This was the part of the show, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Porterfield started talking to nothing, and I didn't want to say anything because as host, I thought that would cost. Anyway, but absolutely that. Also, the spirits of things
Yeah.
that have never been embodied.
Okay.
There are a fair number of those. They're all over. And some of those are positive and some of those are negative, and some of those are, if you don't want none, don't start none.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my basic belief, which is informed through my tradition and my practice, is that everything has a spirit. Everything. There is nothing. People, oh, you're an animist. I'm like, sure, I can use your collegiate word. That's fine. Whatever, if that helps the communication. But everything has a spirit. The tree outside, the spices in your cabinet, the plant that's growing in your house, your dog, your cat, you, me, your spouse, this couch I'm sitting on. Oh, man-made objects don't have spirits. Uh-huh. Okay. Here's an idea. Why don't you go find the easel of a really tortured artist who committed suicide in their studio and take that easel into your house and see how that goes for you?
Right.
Like man-made objects, everything has times have a spirit, and celebrations have a spirit. Things change by geographical location. The spirit of Halloween. This will be a very popular one. Everybody loves the idea of the spirit of Halloween. Yay. The spirit of Halloween in Salem, Massachusetts is not the spirit of Halloween in Des Moines, Iowa, is not the spirit of Halloween in San Francisco, is not the spirit of Halloween in New Orleans. They are all the spirits of Halloween as a family, but they all have differences based on where they are. And the way I teach that is I say, let's go back to a deck of cards. He went back to it. The deck has a spirit. All these cards together is a spirit. That is the deck of this. That is the spirit of this deck of cards. All of the hearts, I can take all the hearts out, 1 through king. They have a spirit. Hearts. They are all hearts. They all have a spirit. I can take the 10 of hearts, the 10 of diamonds, the 10 of clubs, and the 10 of spades, and they have a spirit. Tens. They have a family. And then the 10 of hearts has an individual spirit.
Yep.
And this I have found to be true of people. I have found this to be true of animals. I have found this to be true of places, times. All spirits are within families that get smaller as we go down towards the individual. So yeah, that oak tree over there has the spirit of an oak tree. It has the spirit of a Texas white oak tree. It also is a very old, it's been here for 200 years and was used for hangings here in the public square back in the day when we hung people. And it has a spirit as an individual that's centered around that, that's going to be very different from another white oak Texas tree. So that's my answer.
It's also home to a whole bunch of ants and woodpeckers.
Yeah, exactly. So
squirrels.
From largest to smallest seems to hold true about all sorts of things, individuals, plants, animals, and so sometimes you have to ask yourself, where did this come from? And how was this gathered? And where did this materia that I get, come from? Because it might be more disrupted. It might be very unhappy with people. It might not be. It might be completely happy with people. It might be happy that you have it rather than some other son of a bitch because you'll honor it and be decent with it, and feed it and have positive relationships with it. But yeah, I've encountered all sorts of disembodied or unembodied, those being slightly different, uh, beings, entities, processes, throughout my time. I've been in some extremely haunted spaces. I've been called in to clean up some extremely haunted places. A very famous one was that I was called to deal with a very, very haunted place. And the deal they made with me is they're like, look, we can't afford to pay you the normal cost of this, but this is a restaurant and bar. And above, we have very luxurious, beautifully appointed spaces that we normally rent out during festivals and holiday seasons. And what we'll do is we'll put you up. You have access to the room. We'll cover all your meals. We'll cover all your drinks. And I said, okay. And driving there with my wife said, you seem a little, what's going on? And I said, well, I'm just really worried that I'm going to go into this place and it's not going to be haunted. And then I'm going to feel bad that I'm living large on these people's nice rooms, and food and drink for a weekend. And I'm going to have to say to them, sorry, you really don't have a ghost. And we got there. They gave me the keys so I could go around the entire place. And I came back and my wife said, so is that going to be a problem? And I said, oh God, no, it's the most haunted fucking place I've ever been in my fucking life. This place, like, now I don't want to stay here. We got to sleep here. This is ground central. I mean, this is where they dropped the bomb. I mean, this place is way haunted. She was very unhappy about that.
Well, how did it go?
It went fine. It got a little dramatic. We woke up the next day and the living room, which had all this beautifully appointed classical French furniture, all the furniture had been moved.
Yeah.
And the door had been deadlocked and had a chain put on it. And it was just we want you to know we're here. And I'm like, yeah, moving all the furniture is super. Well, I was asleep, so I didn't hear it. Like, yeah, oh yeah, oh look, haunted. It worked out. But yeah, I've been in some real, but if you're going to do a business like that, it's only a matter of time before you're going to encounter things that other people are like, holy shit. And it's like, well, it's part of the business.
Yeah.
You didn't want that. Don't become a professional conjurer who has a fucking, sign out front that says professional conjurer available,
Yeah.
Ask me more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've encountered things that other people consider to be, quote, cryptids or imaginary beings, or it's always a particular moment with my legacy students where they've been with me maybe a year or two, where we get to oh, by the way, vampires are real, and they're like, what? And I'm like, vampires are real. Anyway, moving on, and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. What do you mean vampires are real? And I'm like, well, I thought the sentence was explicit.
Right.
But yeah, we live in a world of amazing things, but a lot of us just don't encounter it because we're not sticking our nose in that shit. And we probably shouldn't,
Right.
I have very little respect for quote ghost hunters. Most of them are assholes,
Yeah. Yeah. I was having a conversation about this earlier today where I've never really felt the need to hunt ghosts.
Yeah.
They usually come find me.
Yeah, no joke, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a setup outside my front door. I have a white chair where I keep some water and some other things, and I let it be known you can't just keep coming into my house.
Yeah.
Okay? Because there is, for lack of a way of putting this, there is a community. Like word gets passed amongst the dead. And pretty soon the dead will just show up at your house because they're like, hey, can you help me? Hey, I need something. Hey, and I had to do take a number and wait. All right. I will check in, but you can't just be coming in and out of my house all the time.
Yeah.
I can't have that, but I have a need.
Right.
It's like, yeah, you and the humans as well. The still embodied people have a need, and I don't let them just walk into my house.
Right.
So
Yeah, there's only so much Professor Porterfield to go around.
No joke, right? I'm still looking forward to retiring someday.
Yeah, yeah.
And that I think would bring. Go ahead.
No. You go ahead.
No. You're the interviewer. You're the show. You go. You got the fancy podcast. I'm just a normal guy. You go ahead.
Well, that now I've forgotten what I was going to say, so you might as well go.
I was going to say that one of the things that bugs me is when people say, I want to live a magical lifestyle. I want to live a magical life. And I'm like, no, the fuck you do not.
Yeah.
And it shocks people that I teach all my legacy students this. I'm like, what you want is the most normal life you can get. You want a very regular, very undisrupted, very almost sedate, average life. Because when you go to put your quote work boots on, you've got to go deal with this shit. And there has to be a moment when you can sit on the couch, watch a DVD, eat your dinner, be quote normal with everybody else. And people are like, but I want a magical life. And I'm like, it sucks. I mean, you really want the dead coming around constantly? You really want, everybody bringing you their problems all the time? You really want to deal with haunted houses? You really want to deal with spiritual sicknesses? You really want to I mean, it's okay if it can be kept in its proper proportions.
Yeah.
Right? We can put on our work boots. We can put on our work gloves. We can say, okay, now is when I do this. But you have to have some sort of grounding where, and your normal and my normal don't have to look alike. Okay. I have my eldest legacy daughter literally like going into her house is like visiting the fucking Addams family. Her tastes and my tastes are completely different. It's like a Victorian museum in her house, and it's beautiful, and I love it for her, but I would never live in it. But that's her normal, and that's okay, right? That's where she can relax. She can read her books. She can look at her artwork. She can watch her DVDs, or she can eat her dinner, and she likes that aesthetic. Great. You folks at home will never see this, but behind me, the good Professor Doctor Strange can see, it doesn't look that weird. All right.
Right.
And so I'm not talking about an aesthetic. Your normal and my normal can be different as long as it's something place you can relax, a place you can be steady at, a place where you can let your hair down, a place where the dead are not just going to suddenly run in and be like, hey, a place where we can work-life balance, I guess is what we're really talking about here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think there are ways to have some amount of magic in your life without necessarily living a whole magical life.
Right.
As it were. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't do you well to be a leaf in the wind, Yeah. That can be fun. That can be a fun vacation, but put your feet down occasionally.
Yeah. So we've been going for quite a while here, and this has been a really fun chat. We've kind of been all over the map and gotten a little bit fired up, more fired up. I think that I had anticipated, but I'm not complaining at all. So
yeah, you knew about me before you invited me here. This is my fault.
No. I honestly wasn't sure what was going to happen, but I sensed it would be a lot of fun, and I wasn't wrong.
Well, thank you so much. It's actually been very enjoyable to speak with you, and this has been a great time.
Yeah, we should do it again sometime.
I would love to, whenever you want.
Awesome. All right. Well, do you have any projects you're currently working on now, or
I'm getting ready to
books?
teach some classes. I'm putting some classes forward to be taught out of the Cauldron Black, which is a shop in Salem, Massachusetts, that one of my legacy daughters is a co-owner in. and I'm going to be doing. Hopefully they'll accept the classes here in the next few months. I just got through doing the Salem Witchcraft and Folklore Festival, and all of the classes from that, not just mine, but everybody, are available online. So you can still go, like you said, you missed it. Well, you can go to the website and buy the class and watch it. So
Awesome.
I've got that going on. Otherwise, we're coming towards winter, and this is my cool down period. This is my stay at home and relax period. And then next year, I'll probably be traveling around some more and making some public appearances, doing some public teachings. In the meantime, I continue to have my business open, and so I do readings and spell work and teaching, and all that's available on my website, which is the highly mysteriously named professorporterfield.com. Very difficult to find. And outside of that, that's about it. I'm just out here doing what I can with what I got, and most of my time is taken up with my legacy students. So,
all right, excellent. Well, I thank you once again for taking the time to come on and chat with me.
Well, what about you? Who's up next on AP Strange?
Oh, I don't know. I have so many things booked and going on right now that I really don't know what order anything's going to be in. But
well, folks, if you listen to this one and you enjoyed it, you'll enjoy all the others. So go in and listen to all the rest. There's a backlog. You can fill hours listening to this man's brilliant interview and brilliant show. And I would like to say that he started us off with the advertiser. I, however, have been brought here courtesy of Red Wigglers. Yes, Red Wigglers, the Cadillac of worms. When you have a worm need, why not use Red Wigglers? I got to pay the bills too. You know that.
Yeah,
they paid for my wardrobe tonight.
Well, and you're looking sharp.
Thanks.
As we say in Massachusetts. Looking sharp.
Looking sharp. Gonna go get in the car now. Go get some dunks.
All right. Thanks again.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.